Now at 5, tens of thousands of Arkansans without power. When will Laura get out of Arkansas?
Plus,
and you never know what the wind is going to bring. We're still people looking out for people, and you got to take care of your neighbors.
we have live team coverage across the state as Tropical Storm Laura moves through Arkansas. Also, how you can see the number of COVID-19 cases in local school districts.
You have a small number of close contacts. That tells me that that school is doing a good job of social distancing.
The news starts now.
From the station that's on your side, this is Channel 7 News, awarded the National Edward R. Murrow Award for Newscast Excellence.
Good evening. Tonight, the effects of Tropical Storm Laura are being felt in Arkansas right now.
Yes, they are. That storm smashed into the Louisiana coastline overnight as a powerful Category 4 hurricane, and now it's here. We have team coverage for you. We'll take you around the hardest hit parts of Arkansas. But first, we go to the Weather Center. Meteorologist Todd Jacobian with the latest now on Laura's track. Todd.
Going right over Little Rock soon. The worst hit, South Arkansas, with trees down and tens of thousands without electricity. Our own Shelby Rose took this video in Fordyce, a saturated ground and tropical storm force winds snapping trees. And these are pretty large trees that they are falling over and causing some of these power outages, but that's coming to Shelby Rose, and there are scenes like that all over Arkansas. Laura now coming up into central Arkansas. What made landfall as a Category 4 storm has weakened to a tropical storm and is now pushing up into the metro with very heavy flooding rainfall. That's what you see in the reds and the yellows. But I think the heavy rain may actually die out in Little Rock soon, but continue north of Little Rock and into northern Arkansas for the rest of the evening. Heavy rain and possible tornadoes we've been tracking in eastern Arkansas, but at this time, no tornado warnings are in effect, but we continue to watch it. This is moving faster than expected. It's drying out in southern Arkansas. Rain continues in western Arkansas, but that rain much lighter than eastern Arkansas were the track of that storm. Lots of rain and still several warnings out there. Chief Meteorologist Barry Brandt in the Weather Center.
All right, let's take a look at tornado watch. It's still in effect. I think our threat for tornadoes is dying down, but it's not gone. And I would look at that area from Little Rock eastward. This is officially, though, until 9 p.m., and I think it'll be canceled before that. And get this, we still have a tropical storm warning here. This is still a tropical storm, and winds in some areas are sustained over 39 miles an hour. But we're seeing a lot of the gusts, as Todd mentioned, we're seeing the gusts not as strong as they have been. We're now at 1.13 inches here in Little Rock. Look at the 3+ inch rainfall in South Arkansas. It could have been way higher than that if this thing hadn't been such a quick-moving storm, but it is quick-moving. The dark green areas, flash flood warnings, including Little Rock and on down to Jefferson County, Grant County, Hot Spring County, and a flash flood watch in effect for a good bit of the state for tonight. And those wind gusts, I think, as we head through the evening hours, are going to start to the highest gust going into eastern Arkansas, but this is going to start to calm down. We're not there yet. We'll have more on the forecast time when it gets out of here with Todd coming up in a few minutes, Chris.
Okay, Barry, our thanks to you and to Todd. James Bryant here as well. 3 meteorologists when you need them most. We'll check in with them in just a moment. As promised, we have crews fanned out across the storm zone, enduring the worst of these conditions tonight. We'll begin here in central Arkansas. Alex Birch joins us now from a rain-soaked Canis Park. Alex.
Chris, we're getting hit by incredibly heavy rain here in Little Rock right now. It's been pouring for the past few hours, but right now it's really coming down. Now you can see we're at Canis Park. These gates are closed by the cities. They say this area is really prone to flooding, and the creek that runs through the park here has actually been rising over the past couple hours. Now, we've also been hearing about people who have been having power outages in downtown Little Rock, North Little Rock, and we should have a video that I want you to watch with me of a tree that fell on a home here in Little Rock on 19th and Summit. We also witnessed a car spin out on Cantrell Hill. It's just another reminder for people who have to be on the road right now to please be extra careful. The roads are really wet, slippery, and you need to be very careful and, of course, never drive into floodwater. Chris.
Absolutely. Great advice. Alex Birch for us at Canis Park. Alex, thanks. We'll check in with you later. Let's go to Hot Springs now, where business owners were putting out sandbags to fend off floodwaters today. Our Mandy Rock is there live now. Mandy.
Yeah, Chris, the rain is really starting to come down here in Hot Springs. We are in the downtown area where city officials say they typically see a lot of flooding when severe weather rolls through. And if you take a look here at Central Avenue behind me, you can really see that water starting to pull up here, and all these business owners here on Central doing all they can to prepare. You take a look here, you can see sandbags they put down. A lot of the shop owners started even boarding up their shops and even closing early for the day. Now take a look at some of this video we shot from earlier. Hot Springs Mayor Pat McCabe says about 900 sandbags have been passed out to residents and downtown shop owners. He's also encouraging people to not park on Central Avenue downtown, and says in the past they've had problems with cars being swept away by floodwaters and slamming into storefronts. So far, we haven't seen any physical damage where we are, but we spoke with a shop owner and a Good Samaritan who was helping to pass out sandbags earlier. They both say they're preparing for whatever this weather may bring. Take a listen.
We're worried about the winds, I think. You know, I think we're pretty well prepared for the rain and the water, but you never know what the wind is going to bring. You know, in the wake of everything that's been going on this year, we're still people looking out for people, and you know, you got to take care of your neighbors, and it's just the act of pay it forward.
And those with the police department and the fire department say they will be working closely today to monitor any problem areas, and they have set up an emergency command post there at the fire station on Broadway. Chris?
Okay, the city of Hot Springs well prepared for Laura today. Mandy Rock for us. Mandy, thank you.
Heading now to our Shelby Rose in Fordyce, where high winds resulted in some property damage there. Shelby?
Yeah, Aaron, this large, very, very large tree we have noticed has fallen on top of this home here on Charlotte Street in Fordyce. What is probably a very good thing. We really don't think this house is habited right now, so we don't think there were any injuries that were sustained in this. But I really want to show you guys how large this tree is. I am a pretty small person, but this has been an incredibly huge tree, so it is very, very, we're very thankful that we don't think that any injuries resulted in this. Here in Fordyce, as you can see, it's a pretty light rain, a little bit of wind, not too much. But when we came into town earlier today, there was extreme winds and rain was really coming down in the area. And because of that, there was some light road flooding in town that really didn't go past that. Cars were able to go by. Roads really weren't closed in the area. But it seems as though the city of Fordyce and Dallas County, this neighborhood, it specifically does not have power. A little over 1,000 customers in the area don't have power either. We have seen some energy crews in the area, so it seems that they may be working on that. But what's nice is that Fordyce, it seems like the brunt of the storm is over here. And so, yeah, that's pretty much it. Aaron, we'll send it back to you.
Hey, Shelby Rose for us live in Fordyce. Shelby, thanks. As we continue with Hurricane Laura team coverage, now downgraded to a tropical storm, our Desmond Nugent is live in Hope with the conditions there. Desmond?
Aaron, the rain and winds have died down significantly over the past few hours, and the emergency manager says that's a good sign. Just a few hours ago, in parts of Hope, high winds and rain were the only thing coming from Hurricane Laura. The Southwest Area Arkansas Emergency Manager, Teresa Smith, says they only received reports of power outages throughout Hempstead County, trees on state highways and county roads. Smith says flooding could be a possibility, but they have not received any reports on that.
The strange thing about this area is that unlike some of the areas around us, it hasn't been dry here. We have had 6 and 7 inches of rain in the last 2 to 3 weeks, some yesterday, which makes us more susceptible to flooding.
Coming up at 6, one homeowner tells me he found this large tree landed on the top of his roof. Chris?
Desmond Nugent for us in a place called Hope tonight. Desmond, thanks so much. Well, the path of Laura took it right over the city of Pine Bluff today, and that is where we dispatched Mills Hayes. She joins us now with the latest from Jefferson County. Mills.
We've been talking to residents here. They tell me that the biggest issue they have when it rains is flooding, especially on Hazel Street. Now, a lot of people say that here it hasn't been as bad as they expected. I want to show you guys the wind that's picking up right now. If we zoom in to where those flags are, you can see they're waving back and forth, and the rain's actually coming down a little bit sideways. But again, people tell me that this is not as bad as what they were predicting it would be.
Rain has been pouring steadily over parts of Pine Bluff. We spoke with Joe Spadoni, who owns a local towing company, Foster Towing, and he says they usually get more calls from people needing to get towed out of water when it rains like this. I reached out to Pine Bluff Mayor Shirley Washington's office, and they tell me that there was a report of a tree fallen, but there hasn't been any other damages yet. There will be a crew out tonight monitoring that damage.
We were expecting some winds and lots of rain, but I think we didn't get quite as much as they had predicted. We've had some rain, it comes in spurts, but no real flooding. With our towing business, we've had a couple of calls with trees down, with cars going into the trees, but not a lot of flooding.
There have been areas that we've driven through that were definitely already flooded. We'll know more later today when the rain stops. It has been pretty steady over the past few hours, but it looks to be clearing up within the next few hours. Back to you.
Okay, Mills Hayes for us in Pine Bluff. Mills, thanks very much. So that is the story of the storm at this hour. Some 55,000 Arkansans in the dark. We'll keep you up to date on that, and we'll join our meteorologist right after this break. Also ahead, a spike in the number of new coronavirus cases in Arkansas. We'll have the numbers for you and what the governor announced today about Arkansas schools. That's about 10 minutes away.
Complete radar analysis and some good news when this gets out of here. I'll share that with you up next.
Channel 7 News at 5, brought to you by Sissy's Log Cabin, Nissan, and Arkansas Attorney General Leslie Rutledge. Weather Cams, sponsored by Middleton Heat and Air. From the weather team with the most experience, this is Channel 7 meteorologist Todd Yacobian.
Well, this is video earlier this afternoon. This came to us from Laura Kelly in Camden. The combination of rain and wind, tropical storm force winds. We were in all this tornado coverage this afternoon, and I wasn't able to get more of your pictures and video in. We have them. We're going to share them on social media. Chief Meteorologist Barry Brandt has them for 6 and 10 and tomorrow morning on Daybreak. But we can't thank you enough for helping us out cover Laura and the impacts on Arkansas. But boy, that was a scene everywhere. Now on to radar analysis. The heaviest of the rain now in the southwest side of Little Rock, lifting up towards the north, right along I-630. Conway, it's going to rain even harder soon. This is all lifting towards the north. Cabot, heavy rain, flooding rains likely. And you see where we had that tornado warning in effect, that's gone. So there's still the threat for tornadoes, but it's really lessening in these outer bands as they rotate through and from the southeast to the northwest. You see these bands. So we're going to continue to monitor that. But right now, I would expect high winds with these bands moving towards I-40, northern areas of Prairie and Lonoke counties. And look at South Arkansas. This is moving faster than anticipated. The center of Laura in South Arkansas moving up towards the metro a little bit later on this evening. Lighter rains, but steady rains on saturated ground in western Arkansas, and that's why we still have flash flood warnings in effect over there. Rainfall amounts, more than 2 inches here in West Little Rock, almost 3 inches of rain, and 3 to 4 inches across southern Arkansas. That core of rain, you could just extrapolate that out towards the north and east along the track, and that's why we have flash flood warnings in effect for all the counties in dark green, including the entire metro. Flash flood warnings out here in Polk County, and much of the eastern half of the state has that flash flood watch in effect. Wind gusts, I think they have plateaued. We've seen the worst of the winds. They should start to come down some, but they're still strong. We're seeing gusts up to 43 miles per hour in Monticello, 38 in Little Rock. Notice those wind gusts are near the path, right through central Arkansas and eastern areas of the state. Winds not as strong in western Arkansas. There's the path. By 1 o'clock in the morning, the center of the circulation goes right over Little Rock, but by 1 o'clock in the morning, it'll be near Searcy. And when you wake up tomorrow morning watching Daybreak, I think it's going to be out of the state, moving much faster than anticipated. For the next several hours, a tropical storm warning continues for the southern half of the state, and that does include the Little Rock metro area. Tornado watch until 9 o'clock, and then I think that's going to be gone. FUTURECAST, 8 o'clock. Northern Arkansas getting the heaviest of the rain. This is 10 o'clock, staying in northern Arkansas. Just areas of light rain across the south. Look at 1 a.m. The rain continues in northern Arkansas. This is 7 a.m. eastern and northeastern Arkansas. Notice the drying trend tomorrow. The sun comes out, and Friday night football looks to be saved. Chris is over there cheering. The winds now, it's going to be a lot different than this tomorrow at this time. Middleton Weather Camp. Our temperature in Little Rock staying in the mid-70s. Sustained winds out of the east-southeast at about 23. See those trees all moving around. Rain cooled, 70s, that muggy tropical air in place. 72 degrees, rain likely, it'll be windy. It's a no-brainer forecast for tonight. Southeast winds around 15 to 25 with higher gusts, but again, they're starting to come down a little bit. 88 tomorrow. We've raised that high temperature a little bit tomorrow because we're expecting the rain to leave earlier and the sun may come out for a little while, plus west winds. That's a warm wind, 10 to 15 miles per hour and gusty. Chance for showers and storms, especially late Saturday, 90 degrees. Sunday, that chance increases to 40%. Scattered showers and thunderstorms, just maybe the best way to put it would be areas of rain and thunderstorms. Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday, we'll refine this long-range forecast, but there are some indications that somewhat drier and cooler air not too far away. We're here at the Channel 7 Weather Center. We're going to stay in the Weather Center as long as there's a threat, and Channel 7 News at 5 continues right after this.
There is news on the coronavirus today. It is now possible to see the number of COVID-19 cases in individual school districts in Arkansas. The Department of Health will be posting that data on its website twice a week. It will report on any district with more than 5 positive cases and include the number of active cases, cumulative cases among students, faculty, and staff, and recoveries. Secretary of Education Johnny Key said today that the number he'll be watching is close contacts.
If you have a small number of close contacts, that tells me that that school is doing a good job of social distancing, following the precautions set forward by the Department of Health. If one case ends up with double digits, 30, 40, 50 close contacts, that means that school may need to look a little harder at their procedures.
Today's initial set of numbers shows 222 active cases of COVID-19 in Arkansas public school districts and 41 active cases in the state's colleges and universities. We'll have the numbers from the rest of the day coming up for you in just a moment. Well, the Republican National Convention will wrap up tonight. When we come back, we'll look ahead to what is expected to be a big speech from President Trump.
The Republican National Convention wraps up tonight with President Trump poised to accept his party's nomination for a second term. Sinclair National correspondent James Rosen reports tonight from Washington.
American voters ricocheted this week between images of shootings and racial unrest and the tightly orchestrated scenes from the Republican National Convention, where President Trump, in accepting his party's nomination for a second term tonight, will run in part on a promise to preserve law and order, accompanied by warnings like those he has issued in recent weeks about the supposed dangers of a Biden presidency.
If our opponents prevail, no one will be safe in our country. I'm the only thing standing between the American dream and total anarchy, madness, and chaos.
With some Democrats now expressing concern that the violence roiling American cities may be playing into the president's hands, one of his top aides made clear the White House will lay blame for the unrest at the feet of local Democratic politicians.
You've got governors who, just couldn't get enough of everything we did for them with coronavirus, but they've got this under control. Do they? Do they have this under control?
Republican Richard Nixon rode the law and order issue to victory in 1968. But today's America is vastly different. And with 28 million unemployed, voters' decision to retain or fire Mr. Trump may depend on another issue entirely.
His mismanagement of COVID, his misunderstanding of COVID, has been central to the sort of the weakening of his brand. And so it means that the only way back is if he changes that.
Most daunting for President Trump is the fact that polls show nearly 7 in 10 Americans saying the country is headed down the wrong track. And that's what the polling data on that point looked like in each of the 5 recent elections when voters switched out the party in power in the White House. On Capitol Hill, James Rosen.
Here's a look at the average price of gas today in Arkansas. And on Wall Street, the Dow briefly turned positive for the year today and closed up 160 points. We'll be right back.
Storm scan, heavy rain and new flash flood warnings in effect for much of central and now east central Arkansas, southeast Arkansas as well for the next several hours. Rain will become heavy in Searcy and areas north of the metro. Chief Meteorologist Barry Brandt up at 6 o'clock with more information, Aaron.
Okay, Todd, thanks. Before we go, here's what you need to know about coronavirus in Arkansas. 722 more people have tested positive for the coronavirus in the past 24 hours. There are 433 people currently in the hospital, down 2 from yesterday. Another 7 deaths being reported today, bringing the total number to 739. That's it for Channel 7 News at 5 o'clock. Thanks for joining us.
We'll be back with more Arkansas news in 30 minutes, right after World News Tonight with David Muir. We'll see you back here at 6.